Since the start of 2023, we have been talking about your pathway here on today's Antidote. And for the last month, we've been talking about the support that you might need as you travel your own unique pathway to success. We've talked about peer support, we've talked about mentor support, friends and family support, community support, and this week, we're going to talk about coaching support. And there are lots of different coaches out there. If you've played any sort of sports or been around people that in groups, there is coaching that usually goes on. One of the types of coaches that you may have is the dictator. You know, that one that just tells you what to do, doesn't want to hear what you have to say. We're going to talk about coaching support, the dictator, and more on episode 810 of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom, welcome back.
I didn't go anywhere.
I did. Look at this tan. I got it all going on.
I'm not sure I would qualify that as a tan.
All right, a little burn, maybe.
A little bit of burn. You could have used more sunscreen.
Yeah, I was out in the heat of the sun doing a Segway tour of Clearwater Beach, Florida last Friday, and it was a little hot, but that's okay. You know,
Lesson learned, correct?
That's it. I'd do it again.
Excellent. That's what matters. So it was a good week?
It was a good week. It was good to get away. Thank you for indulging me. And I think you texted me once or twice, which was all for the whole week, which was awesome.
Yeah, I think maybe once. I don't know.
Maybe once. Yeah, I think it was how's it going? Or, you know, are you relaxing? Or one of those, not dictatorial, like you should be, at 6 a.m. you should be out, doing something.
Yeah. Not my vacation.
Away from this.
I'm sorry?
How was your week away from this?
It was about what I expected. In some ways, it was.
Did you sleep late?
Did I sleep late? Maybe one day. A little bit later than usual. I'm probably started getting up a little before 7, but with some dogs in the house, sometimes you don't have a whole lot of control over that. It was interesting. I just had a different plan for the day, which I was going to say that in past, sometimes when we haven't done this, I feel like it's been a little more unproductive. I think because I knew it was going to be that way for a week. And so I had already scheduled the recordings to go. I could spend that time otherwise doing other things, which was actually valuable to do, to take that time and do something different. It was a little different. I didn't probably get dressed quite as early as I have in the past. And that was okay. Sometimes it was, and I wasn't at my desk. I was on my laptop in a relaxing chair. So different and still valuable. So
nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
I did miss you, and I missed this. I will say that.
Oh, isn't that sweet? My dog, not very happy. Must be somebody left the house and feeling a little alone. Anyhow,
that was the best sound we've had from your dog.
Different, because we added another dog to our growing brood of dogs. We took in.
How many are there now? 2 or 3?
3.
Oh, Tom,
it's chaos in our house. Not true. Anyhow. So good morning, everyone else, and welcome back to our live broadcast of today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast where each morning we have a conversation around a topic, the topic of the week. As I mentioned earlier, this week's topic is coaching support. And then we dive in a little bit deeper each day to different parts of that topic. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the dictator coach. And I think there are opportunities and obstacles with the dictator. So it'll be an interesting conversation, I believe. And as we go through that conversation, if you've experienced a dictator coach and you'd like to share your thoughts and ideas, we would love to have you share your value because we know that'll have an impact on the show and might be exactly some of the information someone else is looking for. And then at the conclusion of the conversation, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our today's antidote. That thing that we hope will help you if you feel like you're stuck and uncertain about what to do with this dictator coach or thinking that you might need a dictator coach.
No one's going to think they need a dictator coach, Tom.
Well, let's see how the conversation goes.
All right.
I may surprise you again.
Okay, go ahead.
So we welcome your one thing because we know that even though you might think, well, everybody knows this is common knowledge, everybody's aware of it, they likely have never heard it in the way that you have shared it or will share it. So please feel free to share your value because we know there might be someone out there desperately seeking exactly what you have to say. So please feel free to share your thoughts and ideas. Before we dive into that conversation, though, each morning, Bob and I share our celebrations. So, Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I'm going to celebrate the marvelous Segway tour I got to take last Friday of Clearwater Beach, Florida. I've always wanted to go on a Segway. Yes, that's the thing Paul Blart, mall cop, rides around in the mall, and it was more fun. I would put it in the top 10 list of fun things I've done in my life. Honestly, it was so much fun. If you want to get me the perfect Christmas gift, Tom, get me a Segway. No kidding. It's only about $7,000-8,000, but well worth every dollar of it.
You got that much room in the penthouse to ride around in a Segway?
Yeah, I would take it into town. I'd take it out of town. I'd take it up the street, down the street.
Excellent.
They're a lot of fun.
I thought for sure we were going to get a customer service story about the person who led the tour.
I almost went that way, but I stopped short.
Fair enough.
How about you? What are you celebrating this morning?
I'm going to celebrate Easter and a quiet Easter day yesterday. It was nice to typically Liz has a lacrosse game, so usually I drive her. I haven't had lacrosse games on Easter yet. And, that just those are enjoyable. It's just different. And yesterday it was just very quiet. I had a nice conversation with my family at the end of the day. So it was a beautiful day.
It was a beautiful
in the Baltimore, Maryland area. So I just enjoyed the day and the calm because I know the storm is brewing for the next probably month and a half. So
that being the work storm, not the physical storm.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
All the work.
Some parts of the country, they're worried about storms.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. So as we dive into our conversation today about coaching support and the dictator, Bob, do you want to kick us off?
I thought I did, but now I'm a little tentative, but I'll go with it. So first of all, I think we should set the stage. The dictator coach would be the person that tells you exactly what you need to do. And I think, and I'm going to talk in terms of business coaching, not sports coaching, just business coaching, because that's the world I know most because I wasn't a really good athlete. And that's sad, but I'll get over it. The dictator coach is the person that tells you exactly what to do. And you are required to do exactly what they say. So they have a process that you mold yourself to and you follow it, whether it fits you or it doesn't fit you. And I think there are times when that can work. I worked with a coach at one point where I was learning how to use LinkedIn more powerfully. He was coaching me on that. And he had a system, and it was follow the system and do this step one. And why didn't you get step one right? Do step two. That works really well in that situation when you're learning a specific skill. I have a guitar teacher. He has a process. I'm learning a very specific skill. I need to learn the scales. I need to do certain things. That works. What I find is more difficult is if we're building a business, my business is different than yours. Even though you and I do something very similar, how I approach it is different than how you approach it. Who you talk to is different than who I talk to. Your use of humor is different than my use. Your questioning is different than mine. So if we were to fit into a one size fits all, I think it would take away the uniqueness that we're both striving to achieve. And I think that's one of the things, as you and I talk over and over about creating your own unique pathway. That pathway, to be unique, cannot be coached by someone who tells you exactly what to do, because at that point, you're no longer going down your unique pathway. You're just copying their pathway. And I think that's a common challenge for people, both ways. One way it's a challenge in, I'm trying to do what they do because let's say they're a millionaire and I want to be a millionaire. So I'm going to do exactly what they do, step by step by step, and I'm going to get to the same place. The other thing is, I think a lot of people are expecting someone to tell them exactly what to do so that they don't have to be responsible for what they're doing. And I'm guilty of this. There are days when I would love for someone to just call me up and say, Bob, do this thing today. And if it doesn't work at the end of the day, I could go, it wasn't my fault. Tom called me and said, do it. Hey, Tom's in charge. I did what Tom said. It didn't work out. I'm so sorry. And I think that's a common thing I hear from people when I'm talking about coaching with them, is that idea that, well, you're going to tell me exactly what to do. It's like, well, no, that's not really my role. Or I don't want you to tell me exactly what to do. It seems like it's very polarizing. And I think there are times when a coach will say, hey, I've said to people, hey, if I were in your shoes, I might try this. That's about as close as I get to it. I'm sure it's the same for you. What are some of your thoughts, Tom?
Well, I think that I'm going to go with the answer. It depends. The value of a dictator. No. I think that there are certain spaces where it makes sense. You talked a little bit about it. The dictator is the coach. It's sort of my way or the highway. And sometimes that can have value. I think we get in our heads and then we get stuck and we're uncertain of what to do. And so we just sort of need someone to be like, hey, snap out of it, just do this. Or, it's a skill set that if it's something that we're not really fond of, we don't feel like we're really strong at it, or we're not very good at it, or we don't like it. It can have great value. I know this isn't business, but at the gym, one of the things I love about the gym that I go to is it has a coach. It's a group coaching program, and the coach tells you what to do. And so I don't have to think. I'll just okay, I know that this has value for me. I'm not 100% sure why, but I have some sense. And yet I don't have to figure it all out for myself. They can tell me. Now, one of the caveats within that, though, is they usually start off by saying you have your own unique abilities. So not everybody can run at a 10 on the treadmill. Not everyone can lift 50 or 60 pounds on bicep curls. And so you still, even with the dictator coaches saying this is what you need to do, you have the ability to modify it. Or they might even come over and modify it for you based on what they know about you. I think when the coach who's the dictator type knows more about you, they can then sort of create a program or a method that works for you. I've had some issues with my wrists, and so the coaches know that because I've been there, and they're like, okay, well, you can do this or this or this instead. And I think that's the same thing even in business. It's like there are things that we're uncertain about, whether it's like how to set up our database, how to do a marketing appeal, how to do something else. And if we're not really strong at it and we don't have overly strong opinions around it, the dictator coach can be like, this is what I think you should do. And especially when it comes to accountability, the dictator coach can be like, okay, you said you're going to have this done by Wednesday. Where is it? And if not, what are the things you're going to then do differently in an effort to get it done? And so I think, that there's that piece of that role where, like you said, is that sometimes we just want somebody to tell us what to do. And it's hard if they're a brand new coach and they're doing it that way.
New to us.
Correct. because they have a different sense. And so maybe that's their way of learning what our tolerance is, what our knowledge, experience, and perspective is, so that they can then be more effective in the way that they are telling us what to do. And I think that there's value in that. For someone to come in, if you were talking about LinkedIn. If you don't know anything about LinkedIn, you could be like, well, I'm not sure this is really going to work for me, what you're saying. But they'll be like, well, why did you then hire me? You just said you didn't know anything about it. Here's an opportunity for me to tell you what I have learned. And that might get you started. And it might be the type of coach that you need at the start of any sort of engagement is like, look, I don't know anything. Just tell me what to do and I'll start doing it. And as we go along, we'll together start to figure out like, where is that value and where is it not? I think the challenge sometimes is when the dictating coach isn't flexible enough to then balance that. Okay, now we know a little bit more about each other and our styles, and it's your pathway, as you said. Here are some things that within our system I can now tell you what to do, or things that you've told me. You said, I want you to tell me this, and don't let me back off and be soft about it. I want you to hold me accountable to what I said I wanted to do.
Sounds like what I said to the woman that's coaching us on some Facebook stuff.
A little bit.
And I'm going to get it in my face this week because I haven't done what I need to do. So yeah, there is a point, but I think one of the other challenges with the dictator coach is that they can be very harsh. When you don't, so at a point where you're unable to do something for whatever reason, it's a mental block, you don't have the skill set, you thought you learned it, but you didn't learn it. That person can sometimes be overly aggressive about, I don't understand why you didn't do that. Like the teacher in the classroom with grammar, like and we've all had that experience somewhere in our life where we were trying to learn something and the skill set wasn't coming quick enough to us. And that person was a little harsh. I find that can be a challenge, both for the person, but also in their development. And the important thing to me here in this whole discussion, Tom, is the whole idea of unique. I'm not trying to, even though I'm trying to learn some skills, we're doing stuff on Facebook. I'm trying to learn Facebook skills, but we're applying them to our situation. If it were one size fits all, this program wouldn't be here today.
Yes, I think, and there is that value of everyone is different, right? If we continue along, our pathway is unique as well as each of us are unique. And sometimes there are people who I've known who get motivated by the dictator coach. And that was like, they needed someone to come in and say to them, hey, look, this is the way to do it. Shape up, do it this way. And they knew that person that they were talking to needed that approach to get them motivated to do what it was they wanted to do. There are others who that is not as valuable for. And so I think that it really is about the type of person you are, the way you respond and react to individuals and their approaches that can really have an impact on what you're doing moving forward.
Do you know your one thing?
I do.
Okay, I'm gonna can I go first?
Sure.
I think my mind's been changed a little bit. I was gonna say that I think I said at the beginning, dictator coaches are all bad. I think there's some pluses and minuses as I think through it. So it's a matter of figuring out where you need that dictatorial approach and where you need a softer approach. And I think collaborating with that coach to instill that when it needs to be a certain way.
Yeah, I like that. I thought about that as well. I think I'm going to go with, I think that where I think the dictator really has value is with those things that you would otherwise struggle with, and that you need to do, and yet you're not that fired up about doing it. Like for me to go to the gym, I know I need to go to the gym. If I just go to the gym by myself, it used to take me 3 hours to do what I thought I needed to do. And I'm sure it was not as effective as it could have been. Now I'm in and out in an hour, and I know that because I have someone who is much more experienced, has much greater knowledge, experience, and perspective around this, and I don't have to think. I just go in there and do. Tell me to do this. Okay, great. I'll do this. Now I might modify it a little bit, so I might have to think just a little bit. Like, okay, we're gonna do an all-out sprint. I'm not doing it at 10. I'm gonna do it at 7, or whatever it might be. And so I think that ability to sort of shut down all of those things that might be telling you why you can't, shouldn't, don't want to do something go away, and you just like, I don't have a choice. I signed up for this. This is what I need to do. I mean, I guess I have a choice, although I know then I won't achieve the goals that I want to achieve. And if I want to achieve the goals I want to achieve, I sometimes have to let go of that control and have someone there to just telling me what to do. And I think that there can be significant value in that.
Wow. Didn't see that discussion going that way, but interesting.
I think that's one of the things that, one of the, we didn't talk much about sports in this all, but I think that there's sports shows a role in it because there are a lot of different coaching styles out there, and different people respond to different ones, and different coaches have to use different techniques because they have a group of individuals that they have to try to figure out how do you make this group of individuals a team so that it is as effective as it can be. And I think that's, the same in business is whether you have a team of people or you're by yourself, you have to figure out like when do I need the different styles to help me accomplish what it is I want to accomplish, so that it's not just a bunch of tasks, it's actually actions working together like a team to achieve a goal that you want to achieve. All right. So if you have a one thing you'd like to share, we'd love to hear you share it in the comments, because we know that, again, what you have to share is going to be unique. And even though you might think it's common and everyone is aware of it, they probably likely have never heard you say it that way. And so they may hear it differently for the first time. So please feel free to share your thoughts and ideas or your one thing. And if you happen to be listening to the podcast, we know that there is not a place to do that, to share your comments. So please join us inside our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where you can share your thoughts and ideas there. And who knows, while you're sharing your value, you might find some value that is beneficial to you that you had never considered if you had not gone into that group and others were willing to share their value as well. So please feel free to join us inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where you can share your thoughts and ideas. And you might start to see some interesting things popping up this week. We've got some news that we want to share that we're going to start to sort of tease in there a little bit starting today. So be sure you join us inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group as you travel your own unique pathway to success. So we look forward to seeing you in the group. If not, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.-ish Eastern time, for our next episode of today's Antidote. Go out and enjoy the day, everyone.
Hey, and embrace the renegading you. It is worth it, whether you have a dictator coach, whether you have a dictator lifestyle, whether it's quiet, calm, however you're living, embrace the renegading you.
Excellent. All right, everyone. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.